So cities, we're seeing a phenomenal societal transformation that's affecting how cities will look today and into the future. The ones that everyone knows about, speaks about, are increasing urbanization. So more and more people are living in cities today, and this is increasing. We have close to 50% of the world's population living in cities. This will increase to about 65% by 2030. Many more older people are also living in cities, and that kind of necessitates a different set of mobility and other requirements that the cities have to provide. Second thing is we are seeing, because of climate change, we are seeing another acceleration in the number of natural disasters that cities have to go through and that they have to prepare for. And so that includes things like earthquakes, hurricanes, etc. Finally, because of urbanization, you have the other problems that come from pollution, from increasing congestion, from the need to provide services to citizens everywhere in the city. And this is, again, with increasing urbanization, higher densities, will keep on increasing looking into the future. And I think the biggest challenge is how do cities address this problem? Because the old ways of addressing the problem are no longer applicable. So they cannot just spend their ways out of it because often the finances are not available. They cannot build their way out of it because often there is no physical space to put new infrastructure, even if they had the funding to actually put it in. And then there's a question of how will the cities of the future look like, because you can start spending a lot of money on putting in new infrastructure that, because of the decrease in retail, the change to automated driverless vehicles, you may no longer need that infrastructure. So this is the challenge, increasing urbanization in higher densities, more needs, the need to provide for the well-being of citizens, and that includes better health outcomes, better educational outcomes, job opportunities, preparing for natural disasters, all the while technology is changing and funding is becoming harder to get. So we help cities in a number of ways, but what we typically do is we start with clearly addressing each city's resiliency challenges. So what is it that you're trying to prepare for? Is congestion, is mobility your biggest challenge? Or is your challenge how to prepare for natural disasters? Or how do you make your city more productive so that you can attract the jobs that your citizens need? This is where we usually start. The next step is, what is it that you have already done, and how would you prepare for the future? And we've developed a lot of research, we've done a lot of research on cities around the world, so we can now have a discussion with almost any city in the world and be able to position that city with respect to best practice, what other cities have done. And that allows them to understand, based on their needs, what they've already done, what does the future look like? What are the initiatives moving forward? Once we've done these two things, then it's working with the cities to identify what are the key initiatives that they should be launching. And those may be mobility initiatives, they may be things to reduce pollution, better usage of data through deployment of sensors, capturing the data and trying to drive decision making off of that data. We also work quite a bit on ensuring the availability of financing. Like I said, financing for smart cities initiatives is not the same as the financing of typical traditional infrastructure. So you'll be looking at new ways of financing that involve the private sector or may not involve the private sector, but more often than not will involve some sort of private sector participation through social income, social impact bonds, tariff incremental funding, so there are a number of innovative ways to find the financing that the cities will require for implementing those smart city solutions. We are at the cusp of a tremendous convergence across sectors, and so you start looking at, for instance, Tesla or Google, and it's a blurred line as to whether these are IT companies or are these automobile companies. So we are seeing a convergence across a number of sectors that will create new opportunities for the cities of the future. But I don't think it stops there, right? So For us, the cities have to be able to address 5 different challenges, and they have to be able to do this fairly quickly. One, how should the city be governed in order to bring those new initiatives online? The data, how do you capture the data? How do you collect it? How do you work with it? How do you try to monetize it? Financing, how do you ensure that the amount of financing that you require for smart cities initiatives is available so that you can do the work that you're looking at doing? Then technology. What technology do you adopt, right? Because this is, again, a super fluid environment where technologies are coming and going. Do you actually invest into the right technology? Do you hold off and see what others are doing? I think one of the biggest challenges also is that there is no set, concrete set of standards that the cities can adopt. So I think we're seeing, some collaboration. I'd love to see some more, but right now I can see that each city is trying to really develop it and go at it almost on its own without really capturing what's happening elsewhere, and how can they work with other cities, in fact, to put together some of the best initiatives forward.